I'm Cathy and welcome back to my channel. Today I would like to share with you my own recipe on making cupcake soaps. For today's cupcake soaps, I named it Sakura simply because I used Japanese cherry blossoms for the scent. And for the design, I have used this. This is a Russian frosting tip that I bought online. And this will help to instantly produce rose flower buds in your designs. Let's get started! Pour the lye solution into the oil mix and check that the temperature is within ambient to 38 degrees Celsius. Dip the immersion blender and pulse until you reach a heavy trace. For those who are unfamiliar of the trace, you can simply visually check that by pulling up your stick blender to maybe 1 or 2 inches above the soap butter, and then try to draw a line. And when you do, you will notice a visible trail on top of the soap butter, and it's supposed to stay there for maybe 1 or 2 seconds before it goes back into the soap butter. Another confirmatory test is you can check the viscosity. Notice that there's a difference in the viscosity from the time that you started up to the time that you reach trace. The solution will start to thicken. You would also observe the difference in the color from the transparent oil color into somewhat opaque cream color. For today's project, we are aiming for a heavy trace, so it means we want the solution to be thick enough so that we can transfer it into a frosting bag and do our piping later. Just continue on pulsing and mixing until you reach this consistency. Alright. Then you can either add your fragrance oil or your essential oil depending on your preference. After you mix the aroma, it's up to you on whether you would like to pulse it again. But for me, my own preference is to mix it using a spatula. Another option is to add your fragrance oil together with the base oils before you start the addition of the lye solution. As for me, I prefer to add the fragrance oil after the trace, simply because there are some fragrance oil that accelerates the trace, and working with that will be very tricky because it will give you a false trace. Next, transfer a portion of the butter into a separate container. Here, I have already added my colorant inside. And of course, we need to blend it again using a spatula or a stick blender until we reach a homogeneous mix. Homogeneous means even distribution of the colors into the butter. You can also use a whisk to blend it. This time around, I have my handy dandy battery operated mini mixer that I bought from the $2 shop. I like it because it does the job and it's so cheap. And I can buy 2 or 3 of this one for blending different colors. I just used one color today so that we can focus on the design and on the flowers that are produced using the Russian frosting tips. I have summarized some tips and tricks in producing 3 different types of rosebuds. We can have a closed rosebud, an open rosebud, and a layered rosebud. For a closed rosebud, you just need to press and pull the bag at the same time. For an open rosebud, press and pull the bag and then count 1, 2. Stop pressing the bag and pull it up. For a layered look, I call it a layer because I can think of a name. So you just have to press and pull the bag, then count 1, 2. Stop pressing the bag, push down a little bit and pull it up. And then you can repeat steps 3.1 and 3.2 to how many layers that you'd like to produce. And you can either end it with a closed or open rosebud. Here is just a simple demonstration for those of you who are inspired and would like to buy this Russian frosting tip. This is how the rosebud frosting tip would look like. I also have the tulip frosting tips and other frosting tips that comes with it when I ordered it online. I personally like the Russian frosting tips, though I feel that I still have to practice on it. After 8 hours, I had unmolded the soaps. Here is an example of the layered look. And on top of that is an open rosebud. Have you ever tried using the Russian frosting tips before? And if you did, how was your experience with it? Did you use it on soaps too? Or maybe you used it in baking? For me, I was inspired to use the Russian frosting tips when I saw a lady who decorated her cakes using the Russian frosting tips. I had also immediately formulated a cupcake soap recipe composed of 3 oils. I want this recipe to be as basic as possible and as simple as possible because my friends are asking for a recipe from me. So it will be their first time to try it out. So I want to make it as simple and as easy for them to follow. Here are some of the photos. This is for the closed rosebud. And this is for the open rosebud. This is for a layered, closed and open rosebud. These are just some examples that I have. I really like the open rosebud. These are the layered rosebuds. And as promised, here is the recipe, so grab a paper and a pen. For the lye solution, we need 230 grams of water and 74 grams of sodium hydroxide. For the oil mix, I have used 185 grams of palm oil, 160 grams of coconut oil, and 156 grams of olive oil. For the aroma, you can either use a fragrance oil or an essential oil, and for that you need either 25 grams of FO or 15 grams of EO. For the colorants, it's up to you. It will depend on your color preference. So here I have just written quantity sufficient. And if you notice, I have here an optional additive, which is 0.01 gram of EDTA. You can add EDTA if you had observed that the water hardness in your area is high. I hope that you enjoyed watching today's video, and these are the cupcake soaps that I had produced. This recipe will produce 12 mini cupcake soaps just like this one. And if you did enjoy watching today's video, please remember to hit the like button below and to subscribe to my channel for more video sharing, tutorials, and recipes from me. I would also like to hear from you, so feel free to give me your feedbacks, your comments, and your suggestions. For next week, I won't be posting any video in observance of the Holy Week. So until next time, bye-bye!